we can spread out. Good morning, everyone. Today is a good day. It is a good day for our Commonwealth. It's a good day for our country. It's a good day for our souls, because today is a day of bipartisan action, where we have put disagreements aside and we've put our people first. Today is the day when I will sign legislation that's going to create tens of thousands of jobs. It's going to provide clean drinking water all over Kentucky. It's going to upgrade our infrastructure at no cost to families. It's going to rebuild the literal building blocks of our schools. And it's going to provide the infrastructure of the future, high-speed internet access to all areas of our Commonwealth. Today is a good day. Today is also a good day for democracy, a good day for elections. We are here to celebrate this important bipartisan work with some of Kentucky's elected leaders who helped make it happen. I want to start by talking about voting, about how when much of the country has put in more restrictive laws, that Kentucky legislators, Kentucky leaders were able to come together to stand up for democracy and to expand the opportunity for people to vote. Voting is the bedrock of our democracy, and I firmly believe that we should be making it easier for Kentuckians to vote and participate in the democratic process. This new law represents an important first step to preserve and protect every individual's right to make their voice heard by casting their ballots in a secure and convenient manner on the date and time that works best for them. Among its provisions, the bill permits voting centers, an absentee ballot online portal, we saw how well that works, and 3 early days of voting. It also requires drop boxes, establishes recount procedures, prohibits the use of tax dollars to advocate for or against ballot questions, and requires all voting machines to create a paper trail of votes that are cast. Working with state and local election officials, we've shown during this pandemic that we can vote in a safe way, that we can eliminate any concerns about fraud while expanding access so everyone can make sure that they can cast their ballot. While some states have stepped in a different direction, I'm really proud of Kentucky. I'm proud of the sponsors of this bill. Representative Decker, the primary sponsor, and co-sponsors, Representative Branscombe and Tipton, they are all in attendance today. Thank you for your good work. I look forward to continuing this work with lawmakers and with Secretary of State Michael Adams, who is here today. I am pleased to sign this bipartisan bill to protect Kentuckians' right to vote. During this challenging year, Secretary of State Michael Adams has been a partner in protecting Kentucky voters and poll workers in the midst of a deadly pandemic where I believe that we held some of the best elections that we have seen around the country. I want to thank Jared Deering and the Board of Elections for being a critical and important partner in that. We created a model for the nation. When sometimes people said eyes were on Kentucky, we showed them the very best, ensuring that not only all our citizens and a record number of citizens in the general election could vote, but that they could do so safely without catching this virus. I want to thank Secretary Adams for his good faith negotiations. None of our conversations were ever political. They were always about keeping people safe and making sure they could vote. To talk about House Bill 574, I'd like to invite Secretary of State Michael Adams. There you are.
Thank you, Governor. Last year, Governor Beshear and I worked across party lines to accommodate our election process to the pandemic. And that resulted in the most secure and successful election Kentucky has ever had. This year, the General Assembly has followed suit, working across party lines to enact the most significant reform of our election system since 1891. This is a triumph of both policy and process. I'm very grateful to Governor Beshear for signing this bill, which makes our elections both more accessible and more secure at the same time. While other states are caught up in partisan division, here in Kentucky, we're leading the nation in making it both easier to vote and harder to cheat. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. And now we invite the sponsors, along with the Secretary of State, up for the bill signing. Jared, if you want to join us as well. Anybody else? Okay. Make sure I get it right. All right, and the good news that happened at the end of this session continues. Now let's address the first step of deploying the American Rescue Plan Act funds that are going to lift up our Kentucky families, helping them recover from the hardships imposed by this pandemic. That at the same time, it's going to position our Commonwealth to be leaders in the post-COVID economy. This agreement will improve our state's critical infrastructure and will help to create more than 14,500 jobs in Kentucky. That's 14,500 jobs at a time when we want to sprint out of this pandemic instead of stumble. While disagreements oftentimes get more attention, on this crucial matter and at this consequential moment in our history, we were able to get this done for our people. Everyone saw the potential. Everyone agreed that it was the right thing to do and that now is the time to capitalize on this once-in-a-lifetime chance. Chance to invest in our people and a chance to rocket forward into our future. With that, I'd like to highlight some of the bills that will go into law and the provisions that will help us build a better Kentucky for all of our people. But before I do, let me talk a little bit about process. I think this is the way that we want government to work. It was an open, honest dialogue where we worked together. We worked to answer each other's questions. Nobody got everything they wanted, but the people of Kentucky got solid actions that are going to help them in the interim. And my hope is that we created the foundation for more trust as we move into the future and more successes I hope that we will see as we continue day in and day out. Let's talk about House Bill 320 and 382. One thing we've learned during this pandemic is that high-speed internet is now a part of our most crucial infrastructure, just as important as our roads and as our bridges. During this trying time, we have been ushered into the future, where that reliable, high-speed internet access is critical for work, for school, even for seeing the doctor. While our successful deployment of the safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines are leading us out of this pandemic, we know that how we work, learn, play, and stay healthy has fundamentally changed forever. And to compete on the global stage, and that's what we're looking to do, to compete on the global stage, we must have the best of the best high-speed internet throughout our state. So we know we have work to do, because broadband infrastructure is not currently robust enough to provide for every part of our Commonwealth, particularly our rural communities. House Bill 320 and 382 is a good start towards meeting our future. The combination of these bills and the General Assembly providing $300 million to the Broadband Deployment Fund to begin addressing underserved and unserved communities, that is a heck of a start. Combined with at least 50% required matching investments, this means a minimum of $600 million in investing in broadband to help all of our people compete on that global stage. The investment is estimated to create over 10,000 direct and indirect jobs. Coupled with our recent speed test, mapping, and the Kentucky Wired project, House Bill 320 has the potential to push Kentucky into the forefront of broadband expansion nationwide. House Bill 382 additionally provides $140 million for full-day kindergarten. Everyone knows that this administration is an education-first administration, and this is a big step taken by our General Assembly. Education helps break cycles of poverty. It creates new opportunities. It is so critical to making sure that every single child has real opportunity here in the Commonwealth. The bipartisan agreement also directs $575 million of the American Rescue Plan Act funds to the repayment of the federal unemployment insurance loan. The allocation of $575 million will be used to repay the federal loan balance and avoid borrowing here in the future. House Bill 382 finally provides funding for the Office of State Medical Examiner that will be used to reopen the Northern Kentucky office, which has been closed since March of 2018. This was a truly bipartisan effort, in this part specifically working with Senator Chris McDaniel, and demonstrates the imperative need for essential services in our Northern Kentucky region. Now let's turn to clean drinking water and our water system infrastructure. That's Senate Bill 36. I believe, and I think you do too, that clean drinking water is a basic human right. And reliable water and sewer services are critical to both economic development and that good standard of living that we all want for our families. General Assembly allocated $250 million in grant funds that'll ensure that every Kentucky family has access to a modern, reliable water system. The American Society of Civil Engineers in 2019 projected Kentucky faces nearly $14.5 billion of need in water and wastewater infrastructure over the next 20 years, including over $8.2 billion in drinking water upgrades and $6.2 billion in sewer system improvements. These are much needed dollars in Kentucky, and they're going to go a long way. If you think about the way we normally fund these projects, they're loans. The loans are coupled with what typically end up being rate increases. These dollars help us to update, run new lines, provide water, and at the same time not impact our families through higher bills. It gives us a chance to move into the future without pricing our families out of that same future. Additionally, these funds are going to attract businesses to the Commonwealth because that water and sewer hookup, whether it's to the industrial park, the business park, or others, is absolutely critical to the jobs that we are seeking. In addition to laying new pipelines and improving sanitary water systems and modernizing infrastructure, we're going to do it without raising rates while creating 3,800 to 5,800 direct and indirect jobs. These dollars are going to create lasting positive change, generational change, once in a lifetime change, and I'm proud that everybody is a part of that. Now let's talk about the literal building blocks of our communities. That's our schools. House Bill 556 provides economic and educational benefits for a variety of Kentuckians and is becoming law with the exception of 2 line-item vetoes, one requested by the General Assembly and one ensuring compliance with the American Rescue Plan Act. This is a major investment in our schools at a time of great need. It provides $127 million for school construction, with $75 million for local vocational schools. I want to thank President Stivers, who helped push this through, who not only was absolutely focused on the need to rebuild schools, but was particularly focused on our vocational schools and their needs. Kentucky schools currently have $7 billion, that's with a B, in needs for facilities beyond what they can currently pay for. School buildings not only serve our children, our families, our educators, but also the broader communities. They're meeting spaces. They're places where a community comes together. This investment in school buildings, it is a smart use. It is a use that coincides with our values in how we're using funding from the American Rescue Plan. Likewise, our locally operated vocational schools suffer from a lack of state funding. This is going to help. It's particularly true as we emphasize our role in training workers for our future economy. Having a skilled workforce is critical, and the amount of interest that we are seeing from employers is greater than ever before. In fact, we're going to be putting out a release today or tomorrow where Site Selection Magazine, even in the midst of the pandemic, ranked Kentucky #1 in per capita economic development projects announced in the South here this last year, and I believe #3 overall in the country. But this type of interest, which is only growing, requires us to have the best of the best, and these dollars help make that happen. House Bill 556 also includes $20 million in funding to rural hospitals. Listen, access to health care, we all knew was important, but it is a life or death situation in the midst of a pandemic. And the steps we have all taken to make sure our rural hospitals stayed open were absolutely critical and necessary to keeping people alive in the last 14 months. I think this is a recognition. I think we all understood the need, but this is a recognition of the absolute critical part they play in the health and the economy of our rural communities, and this commitment, I know, is going to help ensure a bright future for them. With this nearly, over $1 billion in American Rescue Plan Act funds, we are being bold. We're being bipartisan. Maybe we're being nonpartisan, just doing the right thing. We're putting our people first, and we're giving our communities a real chance. One with clean drinking water, one with high-speed broadband, one with everything we need to attract those economic development projects and jobs that everyone in every part of our Commonwealth deserve. I think what happened at the end of this session, working together, is going to make us stronger as we come out of this pandemic. Listen, I've got a lot of hope. With over 1.4 million Kentuckians now vaccinated, I got a lot of hope. But this just builds on that. This gives us those other tools to recover, revitalize, and surge ahead. Today we've got a number of leaders that help make this happen. I'd like to first recognize and invite Senate President Robert Stivers to talk about his great work in making these happen. We are very grateful, Senator.
Governor, appreciate the opportunity to be here and to talk about what we did at the finish of this session. Several of my colleagues from both the House and the Senate that were integral in this process are here, and I do want to thank them as well, because nothing gets done by just one member of 138 in the General Assembly. The governor's talked about most of the things that have been covered, but I do want to say and draw a point about a couple of them. Rural health care coming from the rural areas of state is very critical, not only for what it does in providing the health care, but the economic impact. My hometown, small town, 1,200, you think about the health care and having your own hospital there, but also the economics of it. That's why we created this loan fund, because my hospital employs 550 people with good jobs, and that's significant. So healthcare and economics makes this a great marriage of two policies. The other thing is the broadband. We know what's going on with broadband. We've seen it. The governor has talked about it, but I want people to think of this. when you have the opportunity to meet somebody who comes to rural eastern Kentucky, but this can also be applicable in rural western Kentucky, and says, look, I don't want to be in the city anymore. I want someplace, but the one thing I want to know is, do I have broadband? I met a gentleman the other day that had moved from Chicago where he was paying $18,000 a year in property tax on his condominium. Came to Jackson County, is a computer engineer, and it says, all I need is access to an airport within an hour of my home to fly 3 to 5 times a month. This is the type of out-migration you're seeing, and the opportunity that we have if we make this type of investment. And it is going to be well in excess of $600 million when it's done, but it can also help those underserved areas in the metropolitan portions of our state. Last on this that I want to say is, clean drinking water, all the other things. I think this could be one of the biggest tools we have to selling our park system. Our park system needs to be competitive. And when you think about my children and grandchildren, it's getting pretty old when you can say you've got grandchildren now, that want to go to the parks, the first thing they say is, well, can we get connectivity? I think we should look at this because that will make our parks competitive in the tourism area. So it's a great opportunity that we put all these things together, House and Senate, Republican and Democrat, that actually creates an economic dynamic for future expansion that will go years in advance to making us the best state we can be. Appreciate the governor and the work we had, the conversations. A lot of people wonder where these take place, but during this time, when you think about all the COVID protocols and the things we had to do and the steps we had to take along with the weather, the meetings were taking place in the Supreme Court chamber in a broad room. And that's where we were able to come to these conclusions and reach out and come to the final product that you've seen here today. So to all the people involved, great deal of respect and appreciation for what they've done, and truly it does set the table for brighter days. Thank you, Governor.
All right, next we have Senate Minority Leader Morgan Mcgarvey.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, President Stivers. I think you all have heard a lot of the details about what's in this bill, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the process. This was a confirmation of what is possible when government's working together. What you saw the last 2 days of the legislative session was the Democrats and the Republicans coming together and saying, how can we help Kentuckians? And we answered that question. We're going to make sure that every Kentuckian gets access to the internet. We've heard the stories about kids sitting in the parking lot of a McDonald's so that they can complete their schoolwork during this incredibly difficult year. Just yesterday, I was on a Zoom with someone in Whitesburg in Letcher County. And of course, it was going in and out. We were having trouble even conducting our business. And I said, it's a good thing we've got that internet coming. And he said, man, we need it down here. We're going to get that done. The infrastructure that's coming to Kentucky, the building that we're going to do, not just for today, but for tomorrow, made possible in those last few days because the Democrats and the Republicans came together for Kentucky. I think it's also an affirmation of the idea that we're all in this together is better than the idea that you're on your own. And we are showing what this government and this state is capable of by coming together and helping Kentuckians. It's also important to recognize that this money is coming from the federal government and the American Rescue Plan, and that Congressman John Yarmuth was one of the primary authors of this bill that went to the president's desk and is coming to provide immediate relief for Kentuckians. And I want to make sure to thank Congressman Yarmuth while we're here today. Thank you to Governor, thank you to all the leaders who are here today, and we're looking forward to making sure that not only this money gets spent to help Kentuckians, but that the rest of the money coming in gets spent as well.
And next we have Senator Julie Rocky Adams. She's on my speaking list. No? Okay. Wow. Bills that are so good, people don't need to speak. Then next we have State Representative Joni Jenkins.
Thank you, Governor, and what a great day it is. When we received this money, news of this money from the federal government, thanks to the Biden administration and Congressman John Yarmouth, I think most of us were very hopeful that we could do something big and bold and would move Kentucky forward, and I think we are. There were a few squabbles within the House and Senate this session, but you know what? When we're talking about doing what's right for Kentucky, we can all come together, and I think this is a great show of that. Expanding broadband, making sure that throughout Kentucky, everyone has clean drinking water, making sure our schools are the best that they can be. I think whether you're Democrat, Republican, House or Senate member, we all agree that's what we want for Kentucky. So today is a great day as we move forward. Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to sign the legislation. I'd invite the leadership from both parties, given what a bipartisan success this is, to join me up here as we do it. All right, for those that have questions for me, I'll take them in front of the office over here, a couple of them, and then you can grab anybody else individually. Again, thank you very much.